We'll do some of the stuff we did before again, just because it's a new setting and it's good to get extra lunch.
Sure. So I'm Vitalik Buterin. I'm the founder of Ethereum. So the idea behind Ethereum is that there was, people are very interested in using blockchains for a lot of different applications. And the goal of this project is basically, can we create a platform which is general purpose enough that it can cover all of these different blockchain applications inside of one blockchain without having to basically build an entirely new blockchain every time you want to do something different. Right? So basically there's a lot of people that are interested in these ideas of making decentralized trust minimizing applications, making open networks, global kind of decentralized platforms, and blockchains are a great tool for doing that, but there's just so many different things that you could potentially do in this way that it doesn't really make sense to make a separate blockchain for each one of them. And so the goal of Ethereum basically is, okay, let's make a blockchain once. You can think of it as being this kind of worldwide decentralized operating system, and then stuff can get built on top of it. Yeah, I think ultimately what we're building here is in some ways a new class of social institution, and if we want it to be used in those areas where it can really provide long-term value, then it is important for it to have the kind of stability that it needs for those kinds of applications. So if we're going to see very important large-scale infrastructure built on top of it, then it better be able to last through many different kinds of situations and circumstances and different kinds of things that could happen to the world over the next few decades. And it definitely is one of the goals of Ethereum to be able to kind of survive all of these different environments. So one of the things that we're trying to go for in order to achieve this goal is to try to minimize the number of cryptographic assumptions that we have at the bottom protocol layer. So, for example, our eventual goal is to go to relying on basically nothing but the security of SHA-3. And once we get to proof of stake, once we implement some of the abstraction changes in Metropolis, and once we implement a couple of other things, we'll pretty much be there. So there are a lot of algorithms that we could use that are nice, but that we don't necessarily want to use them because they rely on forms of cryptography and cryptographic assumptions that are fairly complex and that are fairly potentially more brittle than things like hashing. And so our opinion is that it's totally very nice to use those kinds of technologies at the application layer, but you don't necessarily want the base consensus layer protocol to become meshed into that. And I think first of all, India seems to have a lot of very smart people, and there's people working on state channels. There's a lot of mathematicians. Indian universities are famous for people like Srinivasa Ramanujan, and so. And I think there's definitely a potential for the right kind of talents to be building a lot of interesting applications. So that's one side. The other side is that developing economies in general are the sort of places where low infrastructure solutions are potentially extremely valuable. And so if you look at places like the US, Canada, Western Europe, they generally tends to have already very active and well-developed financial systems, tends to have a lot of existing infrastructure around things like identity, around credit ratings, insurance, financial systems. But in India, a lot of track switching for trains is still manual, right? So a lot of things haven't even upgraded to the last digital age. And so it makes a lot of sense to just think, can we basically just leapfrog the last digital age and basically use blockchain-based systems to just leapfrog straight to the next one. I think it's this idea that you can use kind of very powerful information technologies in order to build systems that are kind of designed with this idea of strong global communication, strong global trust, strong global and kind of immediate global value exchange, and where pretty much everything, these things are just designed as an afterthought. They're actually baked into the bottom layers of how all of the protocols are designed. I don't think there is one biggest thing. I mean, I think there's a few interesting things. So on the technological level, I would say zero-knowledge proofs is a big one. And just as a privacy technology, I think they're extremely powerful. Then, I mean, proof of stake, some of the work on scalability, not quite big yet, but I think it's going to be big 1 or 2 years from now. On the application level, I mean, some of these digital identity applications are very cool. Then, like, there's a lot of the financial applications are quite interesting. Then, if you start looking at some of the kind of interoperability use cases between whether it's identity systems or like payment providers or theoretically just about anything, I think there's a lot of people doing interesting things there.
Cool.
Yeah.